Hi everybody. I don't know if anybody's even here yet. I haven't done a lot of live videos before, so bear with me. I'm new to the tech a little bit, and I don't know if I can see you guys comment on this. I normally work on my laptop or my desktop, and I'm more familiar with that format, but today I'm on my iPad so that I could move it around and show you guys what I'm up to in here. We are in my studio. I know BTV just ended, so I suspect people might want to get a drink and use the restroom or something like that, get a sweater, that sort of thing. Hi Don, I thought you might come. It's nice to see you. But maybe we'll wait a few to let some more people join in. How about that? How are you doing, Don? And also tell me in the comments if my audio is funny. Like I said, this is sort of me trying to learn the tech here. Because you don't know how to do it until you try it, so. Okay, cool. Hi guys! I don't know who's behind the Earthwork Harvest Gathering account, but I'm sure we're friends. Cool, thank you. I thought I would just give people... Oh, how's the whole family? We're doing good. The kids are both out of the house. We're empty nesters now. Buddha and I are unsupervised. Oh, hey Chelsea. So nice to spend time with friends this morning. Yeah, I guess I'll give it until maybe exactly 11 to get started or so. Or just a few minutes, or I guess 1 minute out. Don, is that in response to the kids being out of the house? Yes. Kayla's over at Michigan Tech, and Takeo is downstate checking out options where his mom's living. Yeah, they're doing good. We're doing good. Keeping busy. It's beautiful up here. Going swimming in the lake. Good morning, Brad. Thanks for having me. Alright, so I guess we'll get started here. May is texting me on my phone. I should put that on Do Not Disturb. I'm going to do that right now. Alright. Okay. Well, first off, good morning. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. How strange to be teaching a drawing workshop on Facebook Live. I won't be able to see the drawings you're doing. I've tried to set this up so that I can demo things for you clearly, and we'll see how that goes. I'm discovering there are some advantages and disadvantages to teaching drawing through a camera. The advantage being I can kind of use the camera as my eye and show you exactly what I'm looking at, which is nice. The disadvantage being the way I like to teach drawing, there's a real slowness, a real quietness to it. It's really as much a meditation practice as it is a creation of art. That's how I like to do this workshop. And since we're not together physically, I won't be able to read the room, which will be interesting. But I trust that you are all here with me in time. We can't be together here in body, but here you are with me in this time this morning. And I'm grateful for that, so I'm just going to trust that and we'll see how it goes. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody here. One of the things that I've been thinking about, and I think a lot about in relation to this practice, is just how very precious a resource our attention is. And there's so many forces vying for our attention in this world. And I don't take it lightly that this morning you're offering your attention to me, to this workshop, to this space, and to each other in a way, even though this is a very strange format to do it. We're learning how to make connection work in this new world. So thank you, and thank you to Crosshatch and Title Track and Earthwork for making this happen. Such a great event. And I also wanted to say that I myself, I'm coming to you from land called Gitche-Minnesing by the Anishinaabe people, who are the original caretakers and inhabitants, human inhabitants of this land. I'm in between Marquette and Munising on the coast of Lake Superior. But yeah, I just want to acknowledge the history of where I'm at. Be aware of that. The history and even the current. You know, they're not gone, they're still here. I'm just here with them. I want to be a good neighbor. So, I'll start off with why drawing. Why are we doing this workshop this morning? Basically because I think this is healthy. I think this is healthy for you. I think observational drawing is healthy. My goal for you today is not to leave here with a good drawing. My goal is to help you slow down and really look and really see, really draw what you see and not what you think you see, really listen with your eyes. And I think this is a healthy practice for you because we are so very visual creatures. And we communicate a lot visually. And in art, this can often mean that what we're drawing is a symbol for a thing we're looking at, not the actual thing itself. Like eyeballs are football shaped and with this dot in the middle, but if you actually look at eyes, they take all sorts of shapes, and this eye you're with right now is what deserves that attention. And drawing's just the whole secret to drawing. I've had a lot of art training. The whole secret is draw what you see, not what you think you see. It's weirdly hard to make yourself learn, but it's really all there is to it. And in a larger sense, back to the notion of attention, we consume massive amounts of visual media daily. And especially in this online world, in this digital world, every single thing you see in this digital world was either designed or selected to get your attention and to communicate something. It's constant. The whole thing is created to get your attention and to communicate with you. And I think that's a lot for us heavily visual creatures to process. Of course, we made it because we are visual creatures, but it's also a lot to consume every day. So, in slowing down and in really looking at things and in really listening with our eyes, listening in this visual way, using our visual sense to listen to what's around us, you can kind of think of it like this is sort of a realignment for that visual piece of you, for that attentive piece of you. Where is your attention? Where is your visual attention going? And so it's kind of like stretching or yoga or something for your brain. I'm not exactly sure, and I'm just figuring this out, so. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to have you guys, since this is a drawing workshop and you will be drawing, if you stick it out with me, I would like you to get something to draw on, like 3 to 5 sheets of paper. If you have a sketchbook that you're comfortable with, that's great. If you don't have a sketchbook, honestly, any paper will do. Grab printer paper, a notebook, whatever. It doesn't have to be fancy. So something to draw on. We're going to do about 3 to 5 drawings over the course of this workshop, so be ready for that. Something to draw with, and a pen or a pencil, that's fine. Whatever is comfortable. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy. I would say, I know some of you are artists out there, I'm going to say avoid your charcoals and your ink washes and your pastels today. Let's keep it simple. This is designed for people that are kind of like ballpoint pen and printer paper. Like, I'm stripping this down very far, so try to stay away from anything too where the mark is the important part. The line is going to be the important part today. So if you have charcoal and ink washes, just set those aside right now. You can play with them later. And I would like you to also have, for the subjects we're going to be looking at today, I would like you to get yet another blank sheet of paper. Like a sheet of printer paper is absolutely perfect. But whatever else you have that's kind of blank, try to pick something without a lot of printing on it if you can. So even lined paper is fine as long as it doesn't have a lot of info going on. And let's see, where's the rest of my stuff? So I also want you to grab a power cord, because I figured everybody would have one of these. So I'm trying to think of things that everyone probably has in their house. So sheet of paper, power cord, and a shoe. Just a regular shoe. I have 2 of my shoes up here. So I think a sandal might be nice because it's got some more negative space and stuff to look at. But if you just have a regular sneaker or whatever, that's totally fine. Grab it. And I feel like I should probably give people a few minutes to go get their stuff. So you can sit here and chat with me in the chat if you want, and you can go grab your things. So something to draw on, something to draw with, blank sheet of paper, power cord, shoe. That's your material list. And I'll just give you a couple of minutes to round those things up so that we can move forward. Which, it is strange doing this online, guys. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to talk about while I'm waiting for you to get stuff. You're in my studio. It's very small. If anybody has any questions right now, you can throw them in the chat. I'm just going to give people another minute or so to grab things. Hi, May. And I'll leave time. Oh, but I don't. Yeah. Josh Davis would drink and tell a story about Aaron Allen. Okay, I don't know Aaron Allen, and I actually have a strict rule about drinking and drawing. I do not drink and draw. It never works out. Let's see, do I have any good stories lately, though? See, this is the difference between being like a studio artist and a professional performer. Like, Josh Davis just has stories up his sleeve to tell. I guess in my work I've been telling a lot of stories lately, but I don't know if they work for this kind of setting. I guess my work lately has been an awful lot of learning how to talk to white people about talking to other white people about race, to try to do anti-racist work in my community. So the stories, I don't know, it feels like, oh, how did I meet Buddha? Okay, there's a little story I can tell while we're waiting. Yeah, that's a better story. So, Buddha, I had finished up my senior showdown at Grand Valley. I was living in Grand Rapids. And Buddha was homeless and living in Grand Rapids. And we were both spending a lot of time at the same coffee shop because this guy named Josh worked there, and he would give me free coffee, so I liked that. So I'd go down and get free coffee and hang out and work on things. And Buddha was just also had too much time to kill while he was kind of in between jobs and sleeping in his car. So yeah, he was giving somebody a lecture on personal responsibility about being the change they wanted to see in the world, and I was like, who's that guy? And yeah, we're gonna have plenty of quiet, so don't worry. It is strange doing it when I'm not in a space with any of you guys, though. Alright. So, I think that was about 3 minutes or so to let everybody get their stuff. Yeah, Don, you do remember those days. Alright. So, the first exercise we're doing, we're going to need that power cord that I had you grab. So, just a charging cord or whatever. Anything linear, really. If you don't, I don't know. I thought maybe everybody would have one of these. So that's why I picked it. And what we're going to do, this is where we get into the real drawing part of it. I'm going to switch my screen around. I'm going to switch my setup around so that you can see. If I can. Holy cow, do I not have that option now? Oh, yes, I do. Okay, alright. Okay. So, try to get this to reorient. Oh, I can't. Okay. Alright. So, here we have a power cord. And it's a very linear form. And we're going to draw it. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about drawing such a thing, and then I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to draw it. And I need to remember where I set. There it is. Okay. So, kind of tight on space and the light is strange, so just bear with me. What we're doing as we're drawing, especially in this kind of mindful way, is we're slowing down and really looking. I didn't want us drawing something that could be turned into a cartoon, and I didn't want us drawing something that could be turned into a symbol or a scribble. So as I'm doing this thing, as I'm drawing this, I just kind of pick a spot to start on. So, let's say here. And I'm just going to follow it around. And it's a little strange because the way the video is I'm mirroring it, not... It's not actually showing you what I'm actually seeing. So I'm going to try. But this is going to be very, very slow exercise. And you're just following that line around. And it's such a simple form, and I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to draw it. And let's see. I'm going to scooch it so that I can see it a little better, and I'm going to let you guys watch me take a shot at it, just because sometimes that's easier. Alright. Sorry, the space is such that I can't both show you the cord and my paper at the same time. So, as I'm going, I'm basically looking right at the point on the cord where my pencil is. I'm trying to connect exactly where my eye is with where the pencil is. So I'm being very careful about the information I'm looking at, and I'm going very, very slowly. And sometimes it kind of helps to sort of talk to myself a little about it. Whoopsie. Like, here I'm turning down, and then slightly back to the right. And it just kind of keeps on creeping. Until it hits a new path. And then it goes slightly down again. And then back up. And as I'm doing this, I'm very aware of the way in which my eye can focus on multiple things at once. Like, I'm able to bring the chord that's in front into focus, and then I'm able to bring the chord that's in back into focus, which is the difference between an eye and a camera. And the difference between a drawing and a camera is that we move very smoothly between focusing on different areas of a plane, and a camera can't do that. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm trying to very, very faithfully draw what I see. If I was to do this kind of as a symbol or a cartoon or an illustration, I'd probably go much quicker. I'd be paying a lot more attention to the spatial relationships between things. But I don't want to do that right now. I kind of just want to spend the time with it. It's very hard. I'm kind of, one of the things that I'm doing is as I'm walking my eye along here, it really is just kind of walking very, very slowly. Just taking one deliberate step after another. So if you turn a little, you know, if the step of your eye turns a little, you let the pencil turn a little. And if the step of your eye takes a sharp turn, you let your pencil take a sharp turn. Like up in this area over here. So down into that corner and then back again. And it's just very, very slow. Because there's information all along it. Even in this very mundane object, there's information all along it. You can see the light. You can see the light changing. You can see that this cord's a little beat up. But this is the only one that'll charge my iPad, so I need to keep it safe. I need to keep careful track of it. But you can see where the shadows change. You can see where the transitions, where it crosses itself, make it a little different. All of that's information, and all of that's information we don't get if we don't slow down. Alright, I am going to say, in this weird way that we can't be together, I'm going to say, you guys do it. Draw your power chord now, please. Even though I won't be able to see your drawings. And I have a little few things to share. I'll be timing this for about 5 minutes, so you'll have about 5 minutes to do this. It's going to be largely quiet, but I will be sharing a few things. So, and I'm going to, I think I'll just leave this out where it is. So, one of the things that I wanted to tell you about was, I forget, there's a name for it. It's called like the infinite coastline paradox or something. But the story goes like this. Let's say you're in a spaceship and you're looking down on Earth and you see the island of Great Britain. And your job is to measure around the edge of this island from space. So you take your measurement. You're so far away you can see the whole thing at once. And you take your measurement and you bring it home. You report your measurement. And then your next job is you are an airline pilot and you're going to fly a plane around the edge of Great Britain. And as you fly this plane, you're going to take a measurement of the coast of Great Britain. So same thing you were doing from space, except for now you're in a plane and you're flying around Great Britain where the land meets the sea. And you get your measurement, and it's a little longer. It's a little longer than the one you got from space because with your plane you were able to zoom in and out of the coastline a little closer. And then you're magically transformed into a little dog, and it's still your job to measure the coast of Great Britain, except for your journey is long, and you have to walk all the way around the coast of Great Britain. And because you're a little dog and you have little feet, you can walk very close to the water, and your measurement is even longer. So Great Britain, the coast of Great Britain, has gotten longer and longer and longer as you've zoomed in on it. And then, from a dog, you're magically transformed into a snail. And as a snail, it's your job to measure the coast of Great Britain. And it will take you generations to do this, because you're such a tiny snail. And you have to climb up and over every single rock. And the border also changes as the water washes in and out over you. So the coast of Great Britain is getting harder and fuzzier to measure as you get smaller. You have to wash back and forth in the waves, and you're not really sure which measurement is the accurate one. But it gets longer and longer and longer as you climb over every little stone and every little stick. And it will be, in your snail life scope, this is an infinite job, and the coast of Great Britain is infinite. And I love this story because it's the same coast the whole time. The info is different depending on the perspective and depending on the time it takes to gather that info and how carefully that info is gathered. Yeah, there's a name for it. I think it's the infinite coastline. But yeah, you have about a minute left on your chord drawing, so I hope you're moving very slowly. All right, that's about it, my friends. That's exercise 1 in the bag. So, I would just like to maybe take a pause here after that first exercise, and if people can tell me in the comments how you doing. Does anybody have any questions? No, I've built a couple areas of rest in here for questions and stuff and discussion. So, if anybody has anything, maybe Bill doesn't have any questions. Angela's not ready to be a little dog, right? That'd be a long walk. Yeah, Don, I agree. This is I saw a meme once that said, "You don't wish you could draw, you wish drawing was easy." And that really resonated with me. And I think it applies to a lot of things. Not just drawing, a lot of things seem easy. Brad, right? I know. Whew. What a time we're having. So, I'll get set up for the next one. Yeah, infinity. Infinity is a matter of perspective. I had to try to keep the pen smooth. Yeah, I'm wondering if you mean one of the things, and because I draw so much, I have a bunch of little kind of automatic gestures that I have to keep under control when I'm doing this. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Gail? Love your incomplete shape. Great. Yeah, you can. I wanted it to be very linear, but I also like that it opens up to even this very linear shape isn't linear, it's 3D. You know, a string exists, you know, a thread exists in 3D space if you're small enough. You know, if you're looking at it, it's covered in little hairs and it's a little twist all of its own. Everything exists in three-dimensional space. So yeah, if you want to make a line for the second chord, I'd say this is a tough one. You might just have to return to this because you'll have to, I don't know what your space is like. Maybe you can move on to the next exercise without disturbing the chord. But it is interesting because these sort of exist only in the one moment of time. And once you move the chord, you can never... Gael. Okay, thank you. Gael. Alright. That's beautiful. Yeah, they sort of only exist in the moment that they're in. Yeah. Alright, let's move on to the next exercise. And this one you're going to need your sheet of paper. So that printer paper that we had earlier, I'm going to switch the camera back around. Alright, so we've got our sheet of printer paper, or whatever paper you've got. And what I want you to do is just crumple it. And don't really mangle it, you're just going to make it tough on yourself if you really mangle it. We just want a good crumple. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a similar exercise. Again, man, the light in here is just making me nuts. So we're going to start off with a similar exercise where I just want you to go around. This is a bit of a more complicated shape than that chord was, but it's got a lot of good left, rights, ups, downs, little angles here and there. So for starters, we're going to take 10 minutes to go around the border of this. So again, I can show you what I'm doing. Just sort of get it set up in a space. And I'm just going to look at mine instead of trying to draw it through the screen eye right now, guys, because it's like, it's a little backwards for me. So I just pick anywhere along the line, and all those little wrinkles and divots, and we're just going around the border. So we're just walking the coast of Great Britain with our pencil, or pen, or whatever you have. Just taking that real slow I'm probably even moving a little faster than I should. Sometimes it helps to steady me if I close one eye. And one of the things about these drawings too is I don't want right now you thinking of the whole thing. Like, I don't want you thinking of, like, this point in relationship to this point, in relationship to this point. Like, how thick is this compared to that? Like, we're not getting into all that right now. Just the point is getting your eyeball to follow a line and kind of getting your mind out of the in between space and saying, oh, this needs to give the illusion of a crumpled up sheet of paper on this in this drawing I'm doing. That's not the point right now. The point is just getting your eyeball to follow that line. Very, very slowly. So, we're going to do that for about 10 minutes here. And I've got some more stuff to share with you while we do that. But it's going to be largely quiet. This is a very quiet workshop. So, go ahead. I have started the timer. Go ahead and set up your crinkly paper and start following that line. During this time, I wanted to share a poem. This is a Mary Oliver poem that I think sort of does a good job illustrating what I find to be the larger, valuable piece of this. This is called Praying. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, and then patch a few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks, and a silence in which another voice may speak. And that's Praying by Mary Oliver. And I feel like this approach to drawing what you see and not what you think you see, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that what you pay attention to, what you slow down and actually give your focus to is what becomes precious or also hated. Um, that is the power of attention. Things that are mundane can become very beautiful and very special. That's why individual humans are special to us. In this sea of people, we pay attention to a few of them, and they become precious to us, infinitely precious to us. And I think we do that with objects and spaces as well. And it is that power of attention. So I think exploring one's attention is worthwhile. Exploring what one pays attention to is worthwhile. It's a type of magic we have. It's a type of power we have in our lives if we can get a hold of it. And we're about halfway through, and if you find that you are further than halfway through, if you've gone a little quicker, go ahead and do it again. Or flip the paper twist around. Make yourself a different border to follow. As we're sitting here quietly, I'm thinking more about the snail and the infinite work of generations. And I'm thinking about how if you really were a snail that set out on a holy quest to measure the coast of Great Britain and the impossibility of that, well, not the impossibility, but the generations it would take, the time it would take, and the spaces, the physical spaces you would pass through, and the generations that would be born in these whole new contexts, and still with this task of measuring the coast of Great Britain, that when the task was done, the way the snail understood its task and possibly what it even means to be a snail could have changed by the time you came all the way around to the other side. We have about 1 minute left on this exercise. Okay. Alright, Don says my voice is breaking up. Can everybody hear me okay, or am I having an audio issue? Now the screen looks funny. So, did anybody have any thoughts about that exercise? I'm going to assume you can hear me. Okay, I guess it's better now. Yeah, so before we move on, did anybody have any questions or any thoughts they wanted to share? It's harder? Yeah. It's a hard one. Honestly, trying to do even simpler objects, like if you try to do a pen, and just follow this like very straight line, whew, that's a tough one. So, I guess we'll move on to the next exercise. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody who's sticking around. I know this can be a challenge, and it is strange not to be in the space where I can't see what you guys are drawing, and it makes it harder to have little questions in the in-between time and stuff. Alright, I'm going to switch it back around again, and we'll take another look at our paper. We're still working with the paper on this one. So we still have our paper crumple. So, our paper crumple also has a whole bunch of shadows, and that's what we're going to do this time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be another 10 minutes of exercise, and it's going to be things like this, and this shape, and this shape, all the way down here and back up here and around here, and this shape. So that's what I want you to do, is draw these shadows. And again, you're basically following the border of it. You can shade them in a little if it helps you kind of keep visual track of it. One of the things that's going to be very challenging is you're going to have to decide where some of these shadows begin and end as they fade out. as they deepen and fade. This shadow right here, the border of that is very fuzzy. The shadow that's being cast by the paper itself, very fuzzy. This shadow over here, very fuzzy. This shadow has a nice clean line to it, so that one will be easier. But you can see how that's going to be tricky. But yeah, this will be another 10 minutes of this. I'll draw along with it for a little bit. But I'm going to sit down and do it so my perspective will be a little different, just so everyone's aware. Does anybody have any questions before we begin? Alright, I will keep an eye on the chat, but I am going to sit down and draw this for a second. I'll start the timer, and you guys will get to watch me draw it as you're drawing it. Hey, Josh D. Alright. I'm going to start the timer now. So I find this one a particularly tough one because you have to make a lot of decisions about where the shadow begins and ends, what counts as shadow and what counts as light. This is the view of the infinite coastline where we are the little dog running back and forth in the waves, trying to figure out where the boundary is between the land and the sea. And this is where we're the little snail getting washed, having the waves just wash over us and head off in a direction we can't even move fast enough to get to see that border. But one of the things I really like about this one is shadows and light really connect a space together. All energy on this planet is ultimately solar energy. And even the stuff that is now oil, before it was oil, it was plants and animals that fossilized and got buried in the earth. And when it was plants and animals, that energy came from the sun, came from photosynthesis. And so it really is light that connects the whole thing, and it's shadows that connect the whole thing. The way the shadow connects this paper to the surface it's sitting on continues over and drops off the sheet of paper onto the table. And the light on the table travels over to the mug that's sitting here that you can't see, that's out of frame, that also casts a shadow that falls over the edge of the table and against the wall. And this chain just goes on and on and on, where whether it's light or whether it's shadow, or if it's something in between light and shadow, it just connects the space. It links it all together. And we are over halfway done at this point, just to give you an orientation. And again, if you feel like you've gotten this view taken care of, turn the paper over and turn your crumpled paper over and get a new view of it. Get a different look. One of the things I should mention about drawing is it is challenging, but if you work on it, you will get good at it. I think there's a lot of mysticism surrounding art and artists, and this notion that people that draw well have some sort of special inborn talent. And to a certain extent, people are born with different proclivities, that's true. People just have sort of different interest levels and different skill sets, that's true. But what it boils down to, honestly, is just taking the time to practice. So what I'm hoping to give you today through these exercises is a way to practice. Not that you need to do this every day, even though I think it would be good for you if you did. It'd be good for me if I did. I don't do this every day. Uh, but yeah, the more you look and the more you draw what you see and not what you think you see, the better you will get at drawing. It's just the way it works. That's the way a lot of things in life work. If you want to get stronger, you pick up heavy things and you put them back down again. You do that on repeat and you will get stronger. It's that simple. If you want to get faster, you try to run a little faster. And it again comes back to that attention. How do we do anything? How do we make something precious? How do we make something achievable? We pay attention to it. And we're coming up right up on 10 minutes here, so I'm going to cut you off in just a little bit and ask you what you thought and move on to the next exercise. All right. Let's call that one in the bag. Anybody have any thoughts or questions about that? Any feedback on that one? Was it harder than doing the border, or was it easier than doing the border? This one was harder. I find this one pretty hard. Did anybody find it easier? Anybody have the experience of this one being easier to get through? Kitty, no. The cat wants to interrupt. All right, I guess let's move on to the next one. I have one more exercise for you guys, and then we'll be done with the drawing part of this. And after that, I wanted to kind of show and tell a couple of books with you that I find really useful in thinking about art and this approach to art. Harder outside in a breeze, shadow changed, memory test. Interesting. That's interesting. Memory test. Yeah, Josh D's here. He's the guy that would give me coffee for free once in a while that led me to meeting Buddha, everybody. They wanted a story earlier, Josh, so someone suggested the story of how I met Buddha, and you're a piece of that, so. Buddha's downstairs laughing because he can hear me.
There I was, minding my own business.
Yeah. Alright. Everybody get your shoe. It's time for a shoe. And we'll turn this back around. So this is one of my sandals. A very ordinary shoe. And this just because I wanted to do a shoe just because it's a more recognizable object. It's not as abstract as the crumpled paper or as the power cord. I think it counts as pretty abstract as well. This is one where it will be tempting to draw symbols for things. And what I mean by drawing symbols for things is, like, I can draw a flower. But this isn't really me drawing a flower. This is me drawing a symbol for a flower that I have in my head. And when I go to draw an actual flower, this structure, or, this structure, or, this structure, all these different flower structures I have in my head are going to inform the way I even see that flower and kind of get in the way of me seeing that flower for what it is. So the temptation on the shoe is going to be to draw a symbol for a shoe. This is a symbol for a shoe. And it's really weird to draw watching a video of yourself draw, guys. Just a heads up. So what I want to do, I want to try to draw this shoe without preconceived notions of what the shoe is. So the things that we've already done today, that walking very slowly around the perimeter. And in particular, if you have a sandal, these negative shapes, I think, are really good for sort of abstracting. Where there's this negative shape here that is like... Ugh, the light, man, guys, the light's just killing me. Alright. So this shape, it's really like that. And then there's this other little guy over here. And from these kind of interior shapes, I can build this sandal up. And it's going to turn out wonky, but that's okay. As long as I'm seeing it honestly, that's the point of the exercise. Like I said at the beginning, this isn't about coming away with, like, quote-unquote good drawings, but it's about coming away with drawings that you looked at honestly, that you had an honest experience right now, here in this time with us all together. So, get your shoe. Get ready to draw your shoe. See, like, this curve here. Gonna be hard to get that curve. Gonna be hard to get these little things in the right area, so just move slow and accept that it will be wonky. I am going to give us 15 minutes on this one. And then we'll all get back together again to wrap up. And so if you do have any questions, I'll keep an eye on the chat. But again, this will be a pretty quiet 15 minutes. So starting the timer now. And I'll sit down and draw here too, so you can watch me do it. And again, guys, this is a more complicated object than we were doing before. But the same things still apply. And I'm not focusing just on the border. And if you want to, you can, but you certainly don't have to. If the interior stuff just draws your eye into it, go there, go ahead. It's again just getting your eyeball to follow a single line, a single track. So I'm noticing the thickness of the leather on this strap I'm drawing here. And how it sort of ends in this funky little point up top. How the next strap begins over here. So I'm just sort of very slowly walking with my eye around a shoe. And I'm realizing my scale is way off on this toe part here. I don't even know exactly how I'm going to correct that. I don't have to know. about my dog, guys. Oh, you can't even see the shoe. Just got all off. So the reason I wanted you guys to choose a shoe to draw was because I thought you'd have one around your house. And I also thought shoes are something that's kind of a humble object that we're familiar with. And I wanted us to spend some time with a humble object that we're familiar with, to sort of take that kind of act of precious attention and apply it to something that's very much an everyday thing in our life. I think of this ultimately, this is a drawing practice, but I think of it honestly, ultimately, as a listening practice. Chris Dorman has a song about how listening is giving, and he talks about, it's a kid's song, and it's a beautiful little kid's song, but he talks about all the different ways you listen with your ears and your eyes and your heart and your body, and what it means to listen with these different aspects of yourself. And the reason that I feel like it's so important to break myself out of drawing symbols is because when I'm drawing symbols for things, when I'm using a lot of the kind of techniques and tricks of drawing, I'm not really listening and being with the thing I'm with. Drawing for me is a real way to spend precious time with myself, or in the space I'm in, or with the person I'm with, even if it's not all that special. Like circling back to that Mary Oliver poem, it could be a few weeds in a vacant lot, or a few small stones. Which is funny, because when I find this poem online, I always find it presented with a picture of an iris. That first line about it doesn't have to be a blue iris, but people present it with the picture of an iris, which I always find interesting. It feels like the point of it is to go out and pay attention to the stones. And I think that is kind of the power of attention, to make things beautiful. But it doesn't have to. And we've got about 5 minutes left on your shoe drawing. Alright, I'll give us about another minute. There's a funny paradox with timing these things, with trying not to give people way too much time, and but then there's also a tendency to feel rushed. Once you get used to the slow pace of this, everything feels like rushing. Alright. I think that'll be it. Alright. So that's it for the drawing exercises, everybody. For the handful of you that stuck it out. Thank you for sticking it out. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this was interesting, at least. And yeah, like I said, I wanted to take these last couple minutes just to find out, especially for the benefit of the group and for my benefit as teaching this, I would like to know how'd I do? What was clear? Is it too quiet? Is it worth it? If you stick it out through the quiet, is it rewarding? Do you need more explanation? Do you need more stories in the in-between times? Or fewer stories? Did I talk too much during the drawing exercises? And yeah, sorry about the dog. I think sometimes the chat takes a second to catch up. So I'll move on with the rest of kind of the little show and tells I had ready for everybody. And it's just our last couple minutes of this. So I'm actually gonna share one of my sketchbooks with you. Okay, now the chats are catching up. Yep, paying attention. Alright. Thanks, guys. So, just to kind of share, this is not my any finished artwork at all. But here's just some sketchbook stuff. I went with my friend to the zoo, and we just sat and drew animals together for the day, and it was really wonderful. So even these, like, not terribly polished drawings of animals at the zoo, it's still just kind of special to have it. And I got a little photo booth. That's Kim and I. That's my old kitchen. That's Buddha, and also a bunch of bottles behind a bar. And I wanted to share this just because, like, I mean, I'm not great about staying off my devices or anything either. But since I do have this kind of drawing practice in my life, it is a thing I can do other than scroll through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And the other thing about our attention is it is a very precious resource right now. I bet you guys are familiar with the phrase about voting with your dollar and voting with your feet. we're also voting with our eyeballs and our time and our attention. It's not just our data that gets mined. It gets mined so that they know how to design, so that media companies and advertisers and stuff know how to design stuff to get and hold our attention. And they're trying to direct how we spend our time and money and how we spend that attention. And that's all so precious. It's so precious. And I don't think it's just the way of things, but I just think if we're more conscientious about how we spend that time and attention, it can lead to healthier choices for all of us. This is my quilt with my dog underneath it. A lot of you are familiar with Josh Davis. These are his shoes. Josh Davis's shoes. And it says that I was having trouble connecting, so I hope I didn't get cut off there. And specifically on this topic itself, there's an author named Frederick Frank who basically taught kind of a Zen version of drawing. So these two books, The Awakened Eye and Art as a Way, have been very influential in how I think about drawing and how I think about my own practice of drawing. And these books, he hand wrote the books out. Like, he wrote the manuscript out with a pen. And they're really lush. But yeah, Frederick Frank, Art as a Way, and The Awakened Eye. And there's a few others that I haven't gotten a hold of yet. These are just the only two I've got so far. But just some, book recommendations in case you're interested in learning more. These have really influenced my thinking. Oh, interesting. Bit slow to start. Helpful. Someone recommended we work inside. Had to try to remember where the shadows were. Ooh, yeah, right? To see the screen outside. Yeah, the screen outside is hard. The shadows outside is very interesting. I've read accounts of people trying to draw in this sort of very, very slow manner and drawing flowers and realizing that, like, by the end of their drawing, the flower was actually beginning to wilt. And just that passage of time is all encapsulated in that. It's just really interesting. But yeah, the clouds, that's the struggle of plein air, you know, that's the struggle of working on site. The light changes, which is interesting. We're trying to hold a moment in time, but that's not really possible, is it? So, all right. We're right about at 12:30 right now, so I guess I'm gonna say thanks again to Earthwork and Crosshatch and Title Track for putting this wonderful event together and for inviting me to take part in it. It's one of my favorite events of the year, and even though we couldn't be together physically this year, I'm really glad that they found a way to do this virtually so that we can still share stuff. And, did I even tell you guys? Okay, my name is Ruby Miller, and you can find my work as an artist online. Everything's kind of under Andromeda Studio. So if you look on Instagram for Andromeda Studio, you'll find me. If you look on Facebook for Andromeda Studio, you'll find me and my work. Don, do I work from photos? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. I don't have... especially if I'm doing people, I draw some figures in the media, and I work from photos for them. Like if somebody says something particularly horrible, sometimes I have to draw them. Yeah. Ruby Andromeda Miller. Thanks everybody for drawing with me today. Especially there's it started out with 25 people at the beginning of the video and now there's 5. So thanks for sticking it out, the 5 of you. And I hope the people that were along the way at least got something out of the parts they did see. And I guess with that, I'll just say goodbye. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions, or if you want to send me photos of your drawings, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see what people did during this time. It's very strange teaching a drawing class without being able to see anybody's drawings. So go ahead and message me. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.